Hello everyone. So today's presentation is about web projects and actually about requests for proposals for web projects. What we say is the bit is the death of the web project. That's quite a controversial topic, I know, but I think over the course of the presentation we will see quite clear why this is the case. I think web project is something that is in our everyday life. Probably everyone who's sitting here has currently a running web project, an upcoming web project, something to maintain or something to create, so it's probably interesting for everyone. So, the presentation itself is segmented into 3 different main areas. The first is about identification of the problems. Why is the proposal a danger for the web project? And why do we have generally dangers for the web project? How are they caused? What can we do against them? And we also come with an actual example how it can work better. The website badfinder.com, some of you will know, was just released recently and was created by us together with Hotelplan, and is a pretty perfect example how you can do it much better if you go an alternative way. So, what are the dangers of the web project? The web projects are full of dangers, actually, so this is just a best of. I will not cover everything that can go wrong. So we start with the very first danger of a web project, which is a delay. Delay means, well, it can be delayed for days, weeks, or even months. And why is that a danger? I think we all know it. Sometimes we aim for a certain season where we want to have our new web application launched. So if we don't hit this season, we can have lots of casualties. For example, the costs can get out of hand. That means that well, first of all, we have maybe a call center, our marketing is ready, everyone is set for a certain date, and then we have a delay, and everyone is just idling, money is spent on nothing, people can't do anything, and no one knows actually when something is about to launch. We can have a badly built foundation. This is one of the biggest dangers we can have, and has various reasons why this can occur. We will see more about this over the course of the presentation. Well, the most important thing about a badly built foundation is that having a long-term project can be screwed up right at the start. Instability can be one of the reasons for a badly built foundation because, for example, we have to rush into a project, we have inexperienced people working on it. It can have multiple reasons, and usually once the project is really unstable and we have bugs and slowness and everything, the honeymoon phase usually also ends between the service providers and the client. So this is pretty much where things get really into a troubling situation. Slow performance is also one of the worst things that can happen, because if we don't think ahead properly, we can think about ideas how it could work in a project, and in the end, when we come to the final stages of a project, we will realize, hey, this is not working at all as we thought, and maybe we have to connect too many services, maybe the idea was too complicated, so in the end we have a very slow website. What can this lead to? This is the worst thing that can happen, a conversion decrease. Conversion decrease means we have spent, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of euros or maybe millions into a new web project. So we are getting ahead of our competition and so on. But then in the end we launch it and realize, oh my God, we have less conversion than we had before. This can be covered quite well, but this is a really big danger that we can have to face when we release a new product. So what are the frequently done mistakes that lead to these problems? Well, we start with the tender itself, and basically, that's really the crucial part, and I think it's kind of funny when we think about it, how stupid it is, I'm sorry to say it like this, because usually what we do is, we want a new website, we want a new web project, and we say, okay, we need a deadline, let's say 1st of July, this year, for example. We say price, I don't know, 100,000. And then we have insufficient requirements, so we go ahead and have a paper where we write like 10 bullet points, or maybe even have a couple of slides that describes the project, and say, hey, come on, let's do it. We send it out in the world, wait for agencies to tell us, yes, we will do it even cheaper, yes, we will do it even faster, and come on, let's go. So, who we get to the problem? I mean, we don't know exactly what we want to have. We don't know exactly the timings we need. We don't exactly know what all the third parties is we need to bring together, but we know already we want it at that time for that price. This is, I mean, if you think about it, it can't work. It simply can't work. It may work sometimes, but that's more a fluke than actual proof. So the question is, why is it done so often? And why is it still that many people somehow find someone who can do this? So let's be honest, a lot of people here will work for companies that have big brands, come from big brands where any agency, for example, would be killing for to get them. That means if you tell them we have 2 weeks and a budget of X, they will still tell you, yes, we can do it. Definitely, yes. So this is one of the core problems that you have to face, because you will always find people that are willing to take these risks with you and try not tell you that you are actually being in a big risk by having such timelines and so on. So that's very important to face. Another big problem or a big mistake that is done is the underestimation of the own effort, so of the client that he has to put into the project. Web projects are really difficult, and we see it a lot that people do not even know what they put on themselves by creating a new web project. So before we now get more into the solution process of everything, let's actually figure out why do we even want a new web application. There can be various reasons, and this is something we have to be aware of from the start to actually have a proper planning after that. We are under growing innovation pressure. That means that competition is getting fiercer and fiercer. We have the global players coming in. We have Silicon Valley on their toes, realizing what a great opportunity the travel business is. So we have Google coming into the play. Something we should partner up with, actually, not be afraid of. I think if we try to compete with Google, will be kind of difficult in the long run. So something we definitely have to face. We have to create new distribution channels. So what we, for example, realized that a lot of our clients have great B2B tools that are actually working quite well on the B2C, or B2C tools that could work quite well on B2B. Also, we have the entire omni-channel area where, for example, offline sales from tour operator offices can be combined with online sales and so on. This is still actually an area where we just only scratched the surface so far. So this is very important for a new web project, for example. We have very rapid market developments. I remember a couple of years ago, dynamic packaging, for example, was kind of the crazy new thing. Nowadays, this is pretty much the standard, and things will come up more and more quickly. We have to see what is actually coming up, especially now with Silicon Valley getting more and more into the entire travel industry. Another big reason, and that's one of the reasons many of the established companies have, they have old legacy applications that are very difficult to maintain, that are not flexible anymore to actually keep up with all these new developments. And that's very important to realize that sticking to these projects will catch back at some point. And I think, I would guess that at least a third of the people here will be frustrated by the current legacy systems they have to work with in their daily life. So what are the challenges you have to face when creating a new web project? Web projects are highly complex. This is something very important. This is maybe the key moment for you to realize web projects are not something done simple. You don't have a website for the bakery next door. You have a travel portal that you want to create and maintain. A lot of people come together to actually have to fulfill this, and this is not an easy task. So be respectful and understand that what you want to do is a very high complex endeavor. They are interdisciplinary. You usually have to connect so many people for a web project. You have marketing, you have sales, you have project management, you have design, you have programming, you have an IT center, you have deciders, upper management. You have so many people influencing the entire project, and so many people that have to work together. You have to bring them all together, understand the entire concept in order that the web project is actually succeeding. Because if people work not at the same level, you will get some problems very quickly in the project, especially in the midterm. You have a moving target. It's something, well, we all have to accept. You can have the greatest concept and everything, but over the course of a web project, things will change. We have to accept this, we have to be aware of this, and we have to understand this. And we have to also embrace this. So if we talk about a moving target, everyone needs to know when they change something, what kind of impact it can have, and also how to prioritize certain changes within the project. A very short time to market is usually necessary. That means if you start a web project today, you have, like, let's say 3 to 5 months where you want to actually be online from the moment you started. The reason is things change so quickly that you really have to be aware that if you take, like, let's say for a year or two, you are in the danger that your entire application is outdated by the point you release it. So you must check that you have a short time to market. Well, another challenge you probably face, you will have strong dependencies to your in-house IT if you have one, and especially for the bigger ones, I hardly heard ever that an in-house IT said, yes, we are free, let's give us some projects. I think any in-house IT is probably busy for the next 6 to 12 months. This is something we have to be aware of, and what you will meet is resistance usually from that department if you tell them, hey, let's put something more into the project. Difficult, difficult. Yeah, this is also quite critical. You will have very different opinions along the project. So a lot of people will try to influence the outcome, while you, maybe as the person that manages the project, for example, has to withstand all those different opinions and all those different ideas to streamline the entire thing. So that's very important to actually balance this out properly, and this is something everyone involved into the project has to be aware of. Different opinions are good, but at some point everyone has to commit to a certain idea. So let's check how we can actually get around these problems, or how we can avoid some of these problems. How can we do better? Well, obtain consulting during preparation. This is maybe one of the most important things. That means check if you have people in-house that have actual experience with web projects. If you don't have people around you, or people that if you don't have any people with time, get external help. Get people that are experts in this area, already in the preparation. They will tell you what is realistic and what is not. Don't think what it could work. Try to get as many people that can prove that it can work. So that's very important. Plan in the conception phase. So before you actually put up like 10 different requirement points and say, hey, this is our web project and now let's make it for the price X, plan in the conception phase, try to bring in as many people as possible to have a concept written down, have a UI dummy, have something that visualizes the project as much as possible. Why is that so important? First of all, you will realize a lot of things that can go wrong in a web project already in the conception phase. You have so many security factors already during a conception phase. You make your project testable. That's very important. You can show it to people. You can make lab tests and everything. You can check, is it really accepted? Is the user experience working? Is the idea working? Is my product working? You can see that already with a relatively little investment in comparison to the entire project. That's really, really important. We don't do any projects anymore without a proper conception phase. Well, sometimes we do, but only special cases. Provide a sufficient workforce. That is, again, very important. Be aware that you have to bring good people on your side. Bring up a good marketing team that know products. Bring up good technicians, or if you don't have good technicians, bring in good technicians from the outside. Bring in enough project management. There's nothing worse that can happen within a project that if you are in a situation where like work is overflowing you basically, that you're at a point where you're so busy that you cannot even say, hey, I want to bring in some more people because I'm so busy, I better do it myself. So plan ahead, think ahead, and bring in as many people and plan in as much ahead as you can. And by the way, a conception phase really helps to identify these gaps. Establish structures. Again, very important. You have so many different people interacting. So think about something like Jira other project management tools where everyone can get a global overview about the entire project, have proper tools to have everyone set aligned so everyone can step into the project and get an understanding of what the entire project will be. And keep your own deadlines. That's a bit mean maybe, but that's really one of the key factors. If you want a project to succeed, you also have to keep your own deadlines. Know when you have to deliver what, and if you have a deadline that you cannot keep, communicate it as soon as possible so everyone can react to it and avoid bottlenecks during the project. And start with the most viable product. That's also one of the key factors. So before a web project starts, you usually have like hundreds of ideas that can get into your project. Like so many different ideas. To actually have a short time to market and a high chance of success and to get something out, try, if you have ended the conception phase, check all your features, everything you want to do for the project, see how much effort is something to do and what is the value that you expect in return. So try to shrink down the project to a certain MVP and see, make it a starting point for the entire project. And keep it simple. Well, that sounds quite easy, especially when I said web projects are highly complex, but that's really the point of starting with the most viable product. Make sure that you don't overcomplicate things. Try to get the product out and then go in iterative steps over the project and try to increase it. So what I have today for you is an actual case study of a client that we worked with that shows how something can work very successfully if you follow all these points. It is very important, this is just one example. It will not match to everyone out there, but if you take the general principles out of the presentation, you will be able to adapt, that you will have a chance to have the same success. So the case study started with a mutual conception phase. The emphasis on mutual, so the understanding from Badfinder's side was right away, hey, come on, we really need to get an idea of what we want to do. They get into the US market the first time. They didn't have much experience about the US market, so it was very important that we have a concept phase that we can actually test with the people out there. So I think we had about 2 months, and we will get about the timelines a little bit later. They had a great workforce setup. Pretty much everyone that was on the project has at least experienced 1 or 2 web projects already. So you could feel that everyone was very aware of the problems that could occur. That was really great for us also to work with. So that is something we just strongly recommend to people. If there's something you are not sure with or you don't know, get people that know it and that actually assure you how something could work. Have a proper technical foundation. And once again, with Badfinder, it was great. We had Peakwork Player Hub technology, a technology we was quite familiar with, so quite modern technology we worked with. They had a great booking engine on their side, and we as well have, with a Travel Sandbox, had also a great tool that could connect with everything. So yeah, that was very helpful for the entire project. It was not something we built from scratch. No one built anything from scratch here. Well, realistic expectations, very important. Everyone was aware, okay, also on their own, there are certain factors to prepare that could be quite challenging. So we had already always planned in some buffers for crucial parts, and everyone was quite aware where could be possible stones in our way. Well, let's get to the timeline. So the conception phase basically started in July and ended in August, so it was around about 1.5 months. That is actually quite short for a conception phase, but we went through. We had a lab test at the end, so we basically checked with, we invited various people from the designated target group and checked how is the concept working. It was quite okay, but we found some things to adjust. We could do this quite quickly because we didn't have overcomplicated programming in place yet. So we just stick to Envision showcases and so on, and it helped a lot to adjust that very quickly. The project execution itself was from September to November, so almost 3 months of development, which is almost nothing, but it was quite fine actually from the entire scope. And the release was in December, so we started, I think, in the beginning of November, I think, with the testing, and in December we were live. The best part, no one had to sleep in the office until that time. We just went online, and everything went very smoothly. So for us, it's really the perfect role model how a project can work. We went together from start to end, which is probably also caused by the transparency we had across the entire project. And that's what I meant with the honeymoon phase that can end very quickly in such a project. It was really, there were no tensions at all during the entire project because we saw that we could keep all the timelines, and if a timeline couldn't be matched, we could see it also quite early and could adapt, so no bottlenecks were occurring and so on. So that helped greatly during the project and was in general very good for the atmosphere during the entire project. So what we learned from this project is very importantly that the planning ahead, the thinking together, that we be cooperative and be aware of everything that can occur in the project is one of the most important things. And I hope you could get some interesting points for your web projects or for your current web projects that will help you to better plan ahead in the future. Thank you.